Greetings and salutations. You are listening to the Capeless Crusaders, your number one audio and video podcast for anything comic book related. My name is David Barry at Dr. Barry on varying social medias. To my right, we have...
Displeased with David Barry's decisions and grammar. Greetings, foolish mortals. This is the Mad Piper at the Mad Piper on Instagram. This way, do we alley open?
Yeah, we're alley open.
Shoot!
Oh, there it is.
Finally, the Azorian one has come back to hurt your ears after yelling that loud. All right, guys. This is the Azorian one, Anthony Steves, back from his absence.
From his limbo.
We had a story. It fell apart.
Yeah.
No, I was battling evildoers and so
Yeah, we wrote it. We wrote a
Multiple
serial.
times.
It didn't work.
And now that we're live on video, coffee mug.
He's been waiting a really long time. And to his right,
I'm surprised you still have stuff in there.
joining us
Live.
from Cracking the Vault podcast.
Because you let me back in.
Yes,
Somebody put a bag over my head and brought me here because I don't know where I am.
Never again.
Steve's.
That was me.
I'm
I'm CIA trained.
So, hi, y'all. My name is Amy Nunag. I am IJNU Robot on varying social medias.
Ooh, that's
But-
two.
Fired.
Yeah,
Insta-fired.
don't care. But you can find Cracking the Vault podcast basically at our website, crackingthevaultpodcast.com. It's got all of our links to all of our stuffs and things.
They are fantastic.
Fantastic. As always, we are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at the Capeless Crusaders, at the Capeless Ones on Twitter. We are on YouTube and iTunes as the Capeless Crusaders. Find us, like it, 5-star reviews, help out the algorithm, get us new listeners. That would help us out greatly, and we would appreciate it so much.
Algorithm.
Now,
And if you post comments and stuff, we will comment back.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you.
we will.
They'll attempt
It'll be
to.
fun.
It would be so much, unless you post something mean, in which case...
Well, we mean
In
back
which
at you.
case, I'll still talk to
There.
you.
Piper will be like, well...
I kind of like the abuse. I'm broken.
I'll type angrily.
Lots of caps.
This is got weird. Well, this week we are going to be talking about the one, the only Alan Moore, who has recently announced his retirement from comic books. Before we get to that, however, we are going to go around the horn. Jesus.
That was off in so many keys.
God, when we go around the horn, we go around the table.
Circular-ish.
In a circular
On the side of the table.
Around this
fashion.
rectangular.
So
From
we'd
the side to the
stand in
side.
front.
Yeah.
Usually we talk about what we're reading this week. However, this week we're going to talk about our favorite works by none other than the Alan Moore. Yes, interesting. Who would like to start?
I will start.
You will
dear.
start.
Oh, well. Dibs.
Oh.
Vendetta. Because I knew it would make you all laugh.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
Touche.
I should do the same story as last time. So I was going to teach V for Vendetta. And no, I do love it though. It was an absolutely great piece of literature. And then also a film.
Yes.
Great film.
Oh, it was a film.
The illustrious Hugo Weaving, who most people
And?
don't know, or I guess many people don't know, is under that mask.
I knew it.
Really?
Yeah, Hugo Weaving, yeah.
Yeah.
Many people did not, though.
And Natalie Portman's in that, too.
I love
She-
that movie.
Elrond.
Under the Mask.
No, she didn't wear a mask.
Right.
Shaved her head, though.
And John Hurt.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's his name?
From The Hurt Locker.
With the nose. With the nose. The actor.
John Hurt is the Hurt Locker. That was his football name.
What's his name?
I can't remember his name. Anyway, Steve's, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with the mug. Those of you who aren't watching on YouTube,
Mickey Rourke?
My mug has
Yeah.
Okay.
enough.
Wait. Okay, who?
That's
What?
simple. I'm gonna go with the Killing Joke. Very dramatic story. A very dark take on the Joker, and of course, with an ending that leaves you wondering what happened.
And recently made into a cartoon.
Yes,
Yes.
animated film with Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy returning.
Yes.
The
Very nice.
The reprieve.
And Tara Strong is Batgirl.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Fantastic, even though Batgirl did not actually appear in the comic book. So, Amy,
She
what do you
becomes
got?
Oracle.
Hey, that was my line.
I'm sorry, you say
get
that.
off it.
I said it quick. Now you say it with more
Get off it.
Gusto.
Hey, if we could all stop sixth sensing the Killing Joke, move on.
Oh, like
Okay,
spoiling it?
well,
Yeah.
of all
Oh,
the
got it,
things
got it.
of all the things that I read for Alan Moore, The Killing Joke is the one that I most appreciate what comes out of, because as Mr. Steve said, Babs, after her entertaining and really, really crappy turn, ends up being Oracle. And there's lots of wonderful things that come out of there, but we're not going to talk about what happens after that with the Doom 52. Anyway, Barry.
Batman's eyes over the city. Oracle.
Is that oh, okay, cool.
Barry.
I love not an original piece by Alan Moore, but as some of you may know, I'm a big fan of his run on The Swamp Thing. Yes, he took it over after several issues had already been written, gave his spin on it, and created a quintessential character and story that many of us appreciate, and someday we'll discuss on this show, despite the fact that we've been putting that off now for
How many episodes?
several months.
More than several.
Regardless,
That's a secret.
It's not that
like
secret.
I mentioned at the top of the show, the top.
We're at the top.
The top. No. We're the top is with the beginning.
That's just
It's a showbiz.
that's
term.
just the ceiling.
Oh, I see.
I just see the ceiling.
I thought we were going
I thought
around,
it-
and now there's a top.
Yeah,
I thought
we're
it was the
we're a
header.
multi-directional
Anyway,
podcast.
sorry.
Anyway, we
Skyline?
were talking about Alan Moore. Alan Moore, who many consider the greatest graphic novel writer to ever come out of Great Britain. That is not my personal opinion. That's just a title that people seem to give him on the internet. For those of you who don't know who Alan Moore is, I'll give you a
He's
brief.
very scary.
He's creepy looking. I'll give you a brief backstory. He was born 1953, Northampton, England.
All right.
Have you been there?
Yes. Oh,
Gorgeous.
Fabulous.
Lovely this time. of
Piper and
year.
I went there on vacation once.
Right. We summer there.
Yeah, we summer.
Oh.
How does your wife feel about that?
Oh, don't wonder. Just
Oh,
The
fantastic.
Hamptons,
let it
the
go.
famous Hamptons here, do not hold a candle
Not to the
to
Northamptons
Northampton.
of the England.
Hamptown.
Anyway,
Hampton
so
racist.
we've already mentioned our favorite works of Alan Moore. Most notably, he is known for Batman: The Killing Joke that I have right here.
Hello.
See,
Ah.
see. In the,
Oh, wow.
Wait, let me get the. That is the physical.
If
Lettering.
you're not watching on
Paper.
YouTube, that's the actual book.
This is for you audio
He's
guys.
thumbing through.
Thumbing.
on
It's
the
a
mic.
wee baby book.
Thumbing through it.
Those of you watching, you can tell.
There it is.
That ruins the retail value of the microphone, Barry.
Not the book, the microphone.
The microphone, yeah.
Only
Also, From Hell, which a lot of people don't realize,
interesting.
was a graphic novel.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it
With
was turned,
Sir
into, it
Ian
was turned into a
Holm.
Johnny Depp film. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
Turned
which
into a
was
film.
also turned into an awful film.
Ended Sean Connery's
ended Sean Connery's
We were having
career,
this
basically.
discussion.
Lost Girls,
I'm the only one that's read it.
Marvel
read it.
Man or Miracle Man,
Miracle
depending on
Man.
where you are. Promethea, which I've never read. Swamp Thing.
Oh,
was a movie?
Swamp Thing.
This is right here. There it is. The physical copy.
There he is.
Okay,
The one that's not read?
Here,
One more time.
for you
One more
audios.
Good night.
Look at all the pages.
Smells
Look at all the pages.
smells like a library.
Gleaming
I love
analog.
libraries.
I smell story.
Swamp Thing. V for Vendetta, as Piper mentioned, which I don't have here, though you can buy, and it comes bundled with a Guy Fawkes mask,
It
so you
does.
can both read and then occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
His name is Guy Fawkes.
Guy.
What was that?
It was the French pop.
Punch.
I don't like
Parlez-vous
it.
français?
I don't
Slap.
like what we just did.
Anonymous.
And then you give him the old.
There it is.
Oh, goodness.
Voice of the Fire, another one I have not actually checked out. A lot of his
heard of
notable,
that.
his notable works are not notable to us.
Right.
Of course,
Ah, yes, there it is.
there it is for the
Beast.
the Watchmen.
Fantastic movie. No,
Damn
there
it.
it is. There it is.
This one's really long, so that's why
All
it's
the
taking me a
pages.
really long time.
But
to
you can
flip through
actually
it.
hear that one better
You can
than the others.
hear it, yeah.
You can feel the art.
Do you hear the spine just crack right now? This is
So many dead trees.
The
Feel the
Watchmen.
wind coming off those pages.
one
listeners?
of the greatest pieces of comic book ever written.
It is fantastic.
Also known for Superman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. Oh
yeah.
Which was
That's right.
another one that I did not realize was Alan Moore. And for The Man Who Has Everything, which is
It's
it's a book.
That's not the Superman.
Sounds like a Bond
it was
movie.
written by
That
Alan
was an
Moore.
episode of Superman.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's what I'm saying. I got nothing on that one.
We got
I
stumped.
just remembered the episode of
Regardless,
Superman.
Alan Moore, like we said earlier this week, announced that he will be retiring from comic books, possibly looking into other mediums. I know, Steve, you had mentioned that he is
Media.
It's
He didn't even
mediums.
use medias this time.
He said mediums.
Fired off on that one.
every chance I have, I ruin that for you.
In different ways, I'm hornswoggled as to how this is still going. Like,
Hornswoggled, good word.
oh man,
Can I get more good words?
this is crazy to me. Okay, continue.
Carry on.
He's so
Steve's.
hornswoggled.
I'm very excited because I was listening to another podcast by a famous famous nerd, we might say. Can we
nerd?
Say his name. I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, Chris Hardwick.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, sure.
Friend
The
of the show.
nerdiest of
Friend
nerds?
Chris
friend of the show, Chris
What's
Hardwick.
going on, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
How you doing?
Hi.
We'll be at midnight sometime.
Peace in our time.
Yeah.
He
Points.
had Max Brooks on, who is the son of Mel Brooks.
Friend of the show. Friend of the show. Mel, lovely to see you.
Mel and Max.
Max.
Max has written, of course, World War Z. He wrote the Zombie Survival Guide.
Yes.
And he's going to be a part of Alan Moore's collection called Cinema Purgatorio,
Yes.
which will feature works by Max Brooks, Garth Ennis, Kieran Gillen, and many others on that.
Kieran Gillen.
Yes, so I'm very excited about that coming out from Alan Moore.
Is it a book?
It's a whole collection where all these guys
Is
wrote.
it a book or is it a comic?
Oh, no,
book?
it's a graphic novel. Excuse me.
Oh, there you
I was
go.
talking about the other mediums.
Oh, sorry, my bad. But that's what I want to get to. Basically, Garth.
Now the listeners can't see the murder in my eyes.
They can feel it. They can
Garth
feel
and
it.
Kieran and Max all wrote these specific horror stories, and their issue 1 will have the
Okay.
issue 1 of each story, and 2 and 3 and so on. So I'm very excited about that.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Now,
And Max Brooks is now my favorite, but that's not a Max Brooks episode, so don't worry about it.
right.
Friend of the show.
That's for later.
So, like I said, Alan Moore, moving on from comic books, a career that has spanned since the 80s, or earlier,
I
actually.
thought it was 70s.
I mean,
Might have been-
probably
I think
in the 70s.
Marvel Man was in the 70s, I think.
That's true. So, for those of you who don't know, Alan Moore is a reclusive wizard hippie.
Looks like an evil Santa.
Fairly
So-
accurate.
Yeah, I
He's
mean, he's just
very
big
Krampus.
beard, long hair, like
Yeah.
very, crouched over. Progressive for his time, some would describe, depending on the topic that you're actually referring to. Like we said, written some of the most quintessential, like cornerstones of a lot of comic book collections. Like these are you going to flip it? You're not gonna flip it on the microphone?
This is all you need.
No, this is all.
That's all you
Watchmen. Yeah.
They can't read it
if you're
from
gonna
this
read
far
one,
away.
read Watchmen.
Right.
Beyond anything else. So, one of the things that I like to point out about Alan Moore is that while he is important in the history of comics, it is not to say that he is necessarily a good person.
No.
Who is?
I mean,
No, he's a kind of despicable character.
Yes, in both in and outside of comics. I guess that's what we kind of need to lay out, because some people, they write these horrifying stories of just these dark, depraved acts, and they themselves just these wonderful, bubbly people that are hopping around. And then you have the people who are writing bubbly,
Beep, beep.
exactly like fantastic, child works, and then outside of it they
They're a hippie
They're
wizard.
scum.
they beat homeless people. I don't know. Alan Moore is both. He writes dark, depraved, but also very interesting stories. Whether it's Swamp Thing, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, they have these really dark twists. I mean, Watchmen, and on its surface, is a superhero team up.
Yeah.
Nothing really,
Yeah.
Surface.
but when you get down deep below, surface level, it's kind of messy. It's screwed up. It deals with a lot of issues.
There's no clean cut character in the Watchmen.
Exactly.
Even the ones who are closest to
Right.
being clean cut still have something to them.
Right.
They've got something.
That it kind of, I don't want to say humanizes, because I don't think every human is that dark, but it just makes them less untouchable and more of kind of relatable, because you can say, there's a chink in that armor.
Well, it makes
There's
it makes the build more
Yeah.
human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you get too many flawless
Yeah.
superheroes,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
that makes for a poor story.
Yep.
Well, and
or
that's-
a character, I guess.
And in any work where Alan Moore took someone else's character, Swamp Thing,
his cousin, Swamp.
Swamp Man, both stab, sweet tea.
Swamp Thing, and Superman.
There you go.
He had established characters that had already been written. He grabbed them, and he had this kind of like amnesia effect where he wiped everything out, and he said, "This is how I'm gonna write these characters," which gives you that kind of the ability to add that depth, add those chinks to wipe away that flawlessness that a character would have. But in a lot of ways, that also kind of makes him a little more controversial, especially in the way that he takes these characters. Steve's example, the Killing Joke is one of just the darkest Batman stories ever written.
Yeah.
And it's not Batman who's dark, it's the Joker. And we know, he's the clown prince of crime. He does all kinds of mess up stuff, but it just so happens in the Killing Joke, he's just a little bit worse
No.
A little
than
bit.
he'd ever been, and you never see him like that again. Even cutting off his own face and wrapping it around Batman, still not the same
Yeah.
Yeah.
as what he
No.
did to Barbara Gordon and to Jim Gordon in order to get to the Batman. So again, Alan Moore just he takes the evilness of a character and amps it up.
Right.
And sometimes in controversial ways. And whether it's good or bad is definitely to be debated. Whether it is appropriate is a whole nother.
Sure.
Yeah.
I also.
But I mean, if he's got free reign over whatever media that he chooses, if he's this present worker in the comic industry, and he gets carte blanche with, they said like, write a Batman, and you've written all this stuff, we trust your writing, and he goes and does this, and I guess he's got free reign to, and they published it, like they get however many copies,
They approved it.
ahead of time, so they just like go for it.
I kind of
That's
think
a powerful story, sir.
it's a way of being able to reach more audiences. Like you can have the Joker that is more, Caesar Romero, or the more comedic Joker where he's a bad guy,
Right.
but you kind of laugh off he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
A
He's
giant
walking.
bomb.
Aw.
And then you have, the Killing Joke, which was part inspiration for Heath Ledger in Dark Knight, where it gives you... Now, of course, Heath did not do anything that was in the Killing Joke, but took
Right.
the darkness to an angle that still affected Batman, still
Right.
emotionally hurt Batman. And it's those different audiences you reach. And I think when you do that, you're going to have the Batman and Joker that kids can read, and the Batman and Joker that we read, or older people want to read, and something that's more controversial and dramatic that keeps you hooked. Because Killing Joke, I read it in one night. I bought it on Amazon and read it that night, and I was
Easily,
like,
yeah.
and that ending, the way it ends, I'm like, oh, what did he do? Did he cross the line? Did he? We don't know.
That was a really cool
You
ending.
don't know what happens.
Right.
And it's one of those things where the content and the means justifying the ends. I guess that's kind of the point that I bring up is, he could have been dark and twisted and depraved without going the most, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The intimate way that he was dark and depraved, the of course sexual way that he was dark and depraved, which Alan Moore likes to kind of dance along that line of shock. And there's been interviews where he's been asked, like, why do you like doing this? Do you think rape is okay? Are you a proponent of it? And he said, no, it's just, what else is so shocking that it would just grab you like that? And it's one of those things where, it is shocking. Yeah, it grabs you. Is it necessary? That's the point that I would.
And see, and when I read Killing Joke, Joker, of course, those who haven't read, spoiler alert,
Came out in the 80s. We're good.
came in the 80s.
The
We got a
cartoon
statute
came
of
out.
limitations on this, baby.
The
Joker-
movie's out on DVD.
It's out on
If you
DVD.
feel like watching it. Don't do
Joker,
it.
of course, shoots Barbara Gordon through the spine, paralyzing her, and
Then proceeds.
He proceeds to when I read it, I know I saw
Right.
the pictures he took of her, and in my head, like I was already feeling the pain of Jim Gordon that this guy just paralyzed my daughter, took her clothes off, and took pictures of her,
Right.
and it's making me see it. I was already like.
That's kind of how I read it too.
I was
mean,
upset for
yeah.
Jim Gordon then. I never even thought of that angle. But then when I've read what people have said about it, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
I see that's probably what he was getting at. It didn't click in my head because I was already upset for Jim. Again, upset as a reader. I mean, to go with the story, going on with the story, I was already feeling Jim Gordon's pain had it just been stripped her and took pictures of her.
Right.
That angle, which makes sense now, I'm like, oh my God, he really made Joker the most evil person in Batman's life.
Sure.
Yep.
I mean, if I can play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
You're gonna have a real hard time.
You can try.
To be fair, I think ignoring it isn't really the answer. Like he dances around it, I guess, in a lot of his works, and maybe he does it a little too much in his career. But if Joker's one of the most evil characters ever, and he's not afraid to take it to that place, like I don't think he's not heroin. What's it called? I don't know. He's not lauding rape or anything. He's still vilifying it in there. So I think he takes that character to a new level, like whether it says what it says about him as a person, but to show even just through implication that he's capable of it, that exists in the world.
You shouldn't like the Joker. The Joker is bad.
Yeah,
he can do something.
And it
like
happens
this.
once in the Batman canon, and who else is going to do it than
True.
Alan Moore? I mean, to bring it to the
And it's true, but I mean, I think it also just kind of comes back to the, we talked about this in the Suicide Squad, the way that the Joker doesn't really have the worldly normal pleasures,
Right.
And it, again, kind of hinting at what he was doing rather than actually doing it is in and of itself just as
Yeah.
diabolical and evil. And it's true. I mean, every time Alan Moore had that kind of that violence or anything when it came to women or minorities or anything like that, like it was never a good guy. It was never like, hey, this is okay. It was never like, oh, the good guy's doing this. It was people like the I can't remember his name. Also, the comedian, and everything that he did.
It shatters the people around him. It shatters Batman.
Exactly.
Barbara.
Exactly. And then
Jim.
it's they
a lot of Jim.
for example, in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, a lot of people don't realize this, but
Yeah.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde is the only one when the Invisible Man turns on them who can find them because he can smell him.
Yeah.
Right.
And
No.
using his animalistic tendencies.
The
Squeal
book-
like a pig for me.
But that's part of it. I mean, if you read that book, it's the Invisible Man has been going into insane asylums and raping women, and they're
Yep.
believing it's this immaculate conception, and that's how he meets his very
doom.
his just desserts.
Yeah, so then, Mr. Hyde then rapes him to death.
I would argue that shows a piece of what exists in humanity.
It's
He's
true.
revealing
It is.
a bit of what does exist here.
It's true.
In the medium, instead of just going like, no, rape isn't a thing. We never read about. He used, I guess,
He's approaching
artistic, his artistic license to do so, and I guess part of it's brave, and part of it's probably a little bit of obsession or sickness with the frequency that he chooses to use it in his work. But
And I'll even say in the Killing Joke, like the way he wrote Jim Gordon,
yeah,
even Jim after going everything he went through at the circus, being tortured by Joker, being forced to see the pictures of Barbara, after all that, when Batman finally arrives and
have to
frees
arrest
him, and as Batman goes after Joker, Jim tells him, "Don't kill him.
right.
Bring him in alive. I want him brought in. I want him brought in right." And I'm like, that speaks to the strength of Jim Gordon in that story, where Jim Gordon just saw the worst thing a dad, let alone a person, could see.
Sure.
And he's still like, "Don't kill him. Bring him in. Lock him away." So I'll give Alan More credit on the way he wrote Jim.
It shows
Yeah.
what
That
rape
story.
does to people, like the
Yeah.
ramifications of that.
Because Batman is
on
like
a society,
looking like he's ready to break the rule. I'm gonna kill Joker tonight. I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And it's Jim Gordon
Yeah.
saying, "Don't do it. Don't be him." I'm like, okay.
And I think the other, because we mentioned like it's not just the creepiness and darkness in the writing, it's also outside of it.
Yeah.
One of the things that a lot of people's issues with Alan Moore is that he doesn't take criticism
No.
well
That's not
no.
good. That's not
at
good.
all. He basically tries to sink anyone who gives him any kind of feedback on his work. He says they're fanboys, they're easily offended, they're not experts on the issue.
so juvenile.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like if you're
Come
gonna
on.
use such extreme examples, be prepared to discuss why and not just throw everyone under.
Even outside of that, if you're going to be an artist,
Yeah.
be prepared to go under a microscope.
He's gonna love this podcast. He really is.
So
Alan-
much. He's
Alan
gonna be
Moore.
so
friend
happy.
of the
Friend of the
show.
show.
Hey.
Peace in our time.
Hey.
Alan Moore.
Come here, you.
Yeah, we're
Amo.
gonna
I'm not
Evil
cuddling
Santa.
that.
if
Get
we
over
could,
here.
if we
I'm
could
not
find
cuddling that
him
man.
in his
I don't want to talk to those bastards.
That's my Alan.
that was a
Moore.
good Alan Moore.
He's creepy Gandalf.
I write what I want to write. Rape, rape, rape.
So, because the other thing, and what a lot of people don't know is Alan Moore. He's an anarchist.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He was
So
actually.
this is a manifesto.
He was when people started using the V for Vendetta mask. The Guy Fawkes
The
mask.
Anonymous.
Yeah, with Anonymous and with the Occupy movement, he actually basically said like, "Go for it!" Like these people are trying to take back, their rights, despite the fact that if you actually look at what Guy Fawkes did, you're kind of in, not in the same, whatever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different.
But still, he supported those people being, this anarchist, and I believe I think he said he is involved in the occult. He's some kind of magician.
No.
I mean,
He's a wizard?
He's a wizard.
He's a wizard.
He also
And a failed mall Santa. It's in there. Look it up. It's in there. Failed mall Santa.
Can we go to the Google
Ha,
for that?
Alan.
Oh,
friend of the show, Alan. Moore.
Wait, you're
Yeah,
ruining this.
Oh,
Children
Alan.
watch our podcast now.
Santa's
Wait, we
real,
can.
but Alan Moore isn't.
He
is
tries- he
trying to
tried-
take out Santa.
If
There you
you
go.
see
Bad Santa.
little kid out there, Alan Moore sitting on a throne,
You
a
let
big
us
red
know.
velvet throne,
Don't sit. Don't sit.
and don't read anything he writes.
And let us know. We'll come save you.
they will.
Yeah.
I'll just bring
I'm gonna wait
snacks.
until you.
That's my Kermit the Frog moment.
The arms?
Oh, God, the mic. Oh, the hat hit the mic.
You know
I forgot
that
I had
ruins
on.
the retail value of the mic, Steve.
Curtis, I think it's broken.
Comedy comes in threes, people.
So
We're gonna one more time.
Oh, it's back. All right, good.
So that, I mean, in a nutshell, basically, it's especially with the way we have gone as a society, you know, the polarized sides of people who
Right.
think that you're either too sensitive or people that, you know, think that being politically correct is being respectful. So that's why wouldn't you do it? Alan Moore, I think he doesn't really have a place in that anymore because he would want to be on both sides.
Right.
You know, he would want to be progressive and he'd, you know, want to, you know, show all sides of the way the world is, but he would also be saying, well, why are you getting offended by this? And I feel like he's not going to really fall into either camp, which is maybe why it's good for him to hang up the old
jersey. he's
The beard?
also he's not a
Hang up the robe.
Yankee.
he's a footballer.
Hang up the beard.
After Cinema Purgatorio. is
Take
done.
off the beard,
Take
hang
off
it
the
up.
beard. Hang it up.
Exactly.
No.
That's great.
Please
Because
don't.
like I said, the cornerstones of my comic book collection are Alan Moore and Frank Miller, despite the issues, you know, of sexual perverseness, racism, and in some forms misogyny and homophobia that they have in their books. Not necessarily indicative of the individuals, but possibly.
But he explores the concepts of.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and having but it also they write good stories. Like
They
Alan
write-
Moore writes good stories.
And then arguably shines light on those topics.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. So maybe
as
he,
real things.
maybe he is the progressive hippie that he always
He's
wanted
just
to be.
a revolutionary. He's trying to stoke fires.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sure. of
not
it.
anymore.
Well, not anymore. Yeah.
Now he's
Not-
retiring. Now he's calling it quits.
After
Kind
Cinema
of.
Purgatorio. Max
Kind of.
Brooks.
We get it. You like that one, and you want to see it.
I want to meet Max Brooks and Mel Brooks, both of them.
I want to meet Mel
friends of
Brooks.
the show.
Friends of the show,
Peace
the,
and
the Brookses.
Peace
Right.
and time.
Well, so that about wraps up our conversation on Alan Moore, who will be retiring from comics, moving into, I believe, film is where he wanted to go
Hate the
into.
guy, love the art.
I mean, maybe hate the guy. I haven't actually
Dislike
met
the
him.
guy.
That's the
Dislike
problem.
the guy.
I feel
This podcast is gonna. We're not gonna end on an opinion. This is gonna be the end of Killing Joke.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Because
like
it might be a
a
question mark.
he's like Uwe Ball. Like I feel like
Okay.
we're gonna be critical and then he's gonna challenge us to a boxing match.
Woof.
I mean,
but it's
I
okay.
will box
Tag team?
more.
Tag.
We'll
Tag.
probably win.
I think I'd rather see you box Uwe Bowl.
I do that too.
Put Alan Moore through a table.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, look,
That's
here's a
not
table.
boxing.
That's
3D.
wrestling.
That's wrestling.
Wrestling.
Get the table.
Getting it.
Oh no!
No, we're at the table.
Oh,
At the
yeah.
table.
Oh,
This
this
is
it's oh
Yeah,
Just be the one.
This
Just
one
wrap
is
up
this
the
table.
show and then we'll do that.
this
Sure.
Table.
Speaking of wrapping up the show,
Drew would be so disappointed with us.
table for 4.
my name is David Barry at Dr. Barry on varying social media.
Yeah.
Medias.
I actually said media. That's the best
He
part.
did.
It happened.
That was almost
Just for now.
That was almost the first F drop.
To my right, to my right, we have Proud.
And so please.
Like a mama bear.
Oh man, it's like Brave.
It's little bear cubs spreaded their wings and fly.
Does that make him
Media.
Hamish or Merida?
The Mad Piper at the Mad Piper on Instagram. Alley-oop.
That'd be you.
Got it.
That was a good one.
I am the Azorian one, Anthony Steves. It's good to be back. It's
Check.
good to be back.
Look at your angles.
Okay. Oh, hey, forgot about this camera. Hey,
Check this. Yeah.
it's good to be back. Huh? How you doing?
Anyway, to your right.
And
And
me?
to my right, handoff.
Thank you. Amy Nunag for Empire's Comic Vaults presents Cracking the Vault at IJNU Robot or at crackingthevaultpodcast.com.
Check us out on YouTube, on iTunes. Not joining us tonight, Tall Dark Not Ugly,
Aw.
Existential Romeo,
On everything.
and
On
Drew
everything, on everything.
JMC,
Right.
still in Hawaii.
On everything.
Aloha!
And the Azor. Oh, wait.
I'm here.
I'm so used
here
to,
this
to
time.
missing you.
Not even
For
FaceTime. I
All
was
of
here.
us, the Capeless Crusaders, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Double.